Language change. So language changes variation over time in a language's phonological, morphological, semantic, syntactic, and other features. So it means that a language undergoes all these changes in its sound, in its meaning, in its structure, grammar, etc. So this change is studied by historical linguistics as well as evolutionary linguistics. So influence of the language change is due to outside factors, for example, influences from the outside, such as word borrowed from Norman French and Old Norse. So there are a lot of examples in which we find that words have been borrowed in a language, especially in English, from different other languages. For example, we find that most of the words relating to cuisine, relating to fashion, relating to military terms have come from this French language. Obviously, there are words from other languages as well. So a number of changes from Middle to Modern English. So we find a number of changes in terms of sound, in terms of their semantics, and in terms of their syntax or grammar. So, for example, we find that her sound that used to be with words like hulud, or how it's difficult to pronounce in its exact form, but we can see its spelling, orthographic aspect is there. So this is changed into loud, and in loud we do not find the her sound. So it is a sound change. Similarly, in the next word, we find that the initial her sound is no more there, and now the word is become pronounced as Lord. So some word lost sound but kept the spelling in the silent letters. So a lot of time we find that there are letters which are not pronounced, so they have lost their sound, but still they are found in their orthographic aspect or spelling aspect. So we find k and g, right? So you can see that in ni the k is silent, and in no the g is silent, right? So they are always found in spellings. The sound change known as metathesis involves a reversal in position of two sounds in a word. For example, Exkian, it becomes as first. So we find that R is moved to the next place. Similarly, in other words, we find that the word has moved from the first place to the second place, especially in terms of horse. We can find that R that used to be before the vowel sound has now gone after the vowel sound, and similarly we see that VAPS is now VASP, right? So this method is, or this change is known as metathesis. There are also syntactic changes. Or in Old English, the structure of English language used to be subject, verb, and object. However, despite this structure, there were other structure as well, in which we find that the verbs comes after the subject comes after the verb, or sometimes the object comes before the verb. So, but there were different order too, not seen anymore. However, not anymore mean they are sometimes found in languages, in English language, but not very much as they were found in the past in Old English. For example, we find that in this Old English, furdy he traveled. You can see that verb has come first to the first place, and subject has gone to the second place. Similarly, sometimes object could be placed before the verb. He heining gesik Obviously, this is Old English. It's not correct pronunciation, but for your understanding, I've pronounced it. So you can say that the object him, which was hein, has come after the subject and before the verb. So actually, it was he saw him. So there is semantic change. Modern English differs in the number of borrowed words that have come to English language since Old English. As I told you, in the Norman conquest era, there was a lot of words which came into English language. So many words have ceased to be used. I mean, English borrowed many words, and some of the words are no more used. For example, the thrust of a sword is no more used in English language. Similarly, the word were, that was previously in Old English used for man, is no more found except in were wolves. Similarly, there is a process which known as broadening, in which the meaning of the word is broadened. For example, holiday that used to be a religious feast is now become holiday and used for a break in work. So it's used as holiday. Similarly, there is a process of narrowing in which the meaning of a word is narrowed from specific to general. So hunt for any kind of dog, which used to be a specific now previously it was used for the word in place of the word dog, but now it is used for a specific breed of a dog, and the word dog is used for all breeds of dog. Similarly, wife in the Old English was used for any woman, but now it is only used for a married woman. Only used for married women. Similarly, the word vulgar has now adopted a negative connotation, but in the past it was simply used for ordinary. So we can see that language change is a permanent feature, a permanent phenomenon in all its aspects: phonological aspect, morphological, semantic, syntactic, right? And we see that how different, how especially from Old English to or Middle English to Modern English, these changes have taken place, and words have become different in sound, different in meaning, and different in structure.